this lesson is about the bourrée from Book 2 by Handel. It's number 6 in the book. And there are 3 techniques that I want to discuss with you. And I will explain each of them individually. I'll demonstrate each technique, and then I'll finish by playing the piece all the way through so you can hear how those elements fit into the piece of music as a whole. So the first element in this piece is the lift, and it happens right at the beginning, and it continues several times throughout the piece. So it's very important to note that you're going to start just below the middle in your bow. You lift right at the frog and then reset silently to get that lift. Now a couple of things might happen. We might be tempted to start at the tip, but you don't have any control there, and you'll notice I had quite a crash landing. We want to avoid that. But I can also get the crash at the frog if my fingers and my hand are very stiff when I play. So the idea is start just below the middle, play with loose fingers, and reset silently at the frog to get a clean lift. So that idea comes back every time you have the main theme. I think it's 4 different times throughout the piece, and you want to treat it the same way every single time. Now the second element I want to talk about are the terraced dynamics in this piece. And terraced dynamics are a way of making a crescendo or a decrescendo that involve groups of notes. So instead of a traditional crescendo and decrescendo, which has like a first note is piano, the next note's a little bit louder, the next note's a little louder still, continuing, this crescendo in this piece is accomplished in groups of 4 notes. So I have 4 notes at piano, 4 notes at mezzo piano, 4 notes at mezzo forte, and then finishing off with forte. So I'm going to start that at the tip, always at the tip with small little bows, and as I get louder, I'll use more bow and eventually add more pressure at the end to complete the crescendo. So listen to how that works. Starting at the tip. So by the end of the crescendo, I'm using a lot of bow and a fair amount of pressure, but at the beginning I was at the tip using only small bows and not much pressure. And you could hear that the volume increased every 4 notes. That's terraced dynamics. It could be 2 notes, it could be 16 notes, it could be 4 notes like this piece, but it's just the idea of increasing your volume in groups or decreasing your volume by groups. Alright, and that actually happens 4 times in the piece, so when I perform it, listen carefully for that. And the last element that I want to discuss with you is the concept of sentence fragments. This happens about in the second half of the piece, towards the beginning of the second half. And a sentence fragment is just a musical idea, a very short musical idea that doesn't really develop into something longer. And it gets repeated several times. Now, most of the time, a fragment, well, not most of the time, but often you would expect a fragment to line up with the measure. Since we're in 4/4 in bourrée, you'd expect the fragment to be count 1, 2, 3, 4, end of fragment, start a new one, 1, 2, 3, 4, end of that fragment, start a new one, 1, 2, 3, 4. But in this case, it's a little off-center. The fragments start actually on count 4, so it goes like this. 4, 1, 2, 3, end of the fragment, start a new one. 4, 1, 2, 3, end of the fragment, start a new one. 4, 1, etc. So it's a little bit off-center, and that can be a little confusing if you're not prepared for it. So listen to how that sounds. Let me do it again while I'm counting so you can really hear how the fragments line up with the beats of the measure, okay? 4, 1, 2, and 3. 4, 1, 2, and 3. 4, 1, etc. So again, you can hear that there's a big break between count 3 and count 4. That's the end of the fragment and the beginning of the new fragment. Also, if you notice, I want to make it really clear to the audience that it is a little bit off-center, so I really make the count from 4 to 1 very, very smooth so that nobody's confused. Listen, 4, 1, 2, and 3, instead of 4, 1. That could be a little hard for the audience to follow. So again, one last time, listen to the fragment, listen to how I articulate it, and how it's counted. 4, 1, 2, and 3. 4, 1, 2, and 3. 4, 1, etc. Okay? So that will happen twice throughout the piece also. So the three elements are the lift, which happens at the beginning, starting in the middle of the bow, going to the frog, lift with loose fingers, and reset silently. The second element are the terraced dynamics. We're going to start at the tip with small bows, and every 4 notes we're going to get louder to make a big crescendo. And the last thing are the sentence fragments. 4, 1, 2, and 3, break. 4, 1, 2, and 3, break. All right, so see if you can listen for all of those elements. I'm going to perform the piece for you. This is the Bourree by Handel from Book 2.